most difficult part of the coronavirus from a sports perspective for some people out there in my listening audience is the Big Ten making the decision alongside of the Pac-12 to cancel the fall calendar for sports, which includes college football. I think there's a huge percentage of audience out there that this is the most devastating body blow they've gotten from a sports perspective of the pandemic so far. I would say probably for many people, canceling March Madness is that, and I know we've had cancellations and delays before, but to me, everybody else has found a way to get out there and play, and this is a failure of the Pac-12 and of the Big Ten, and to me, at its most basic level, this represents a triumph of the Coronabros and the safetyism culture that we have created that basically holds with the idea that if things are too difficult, the safe thing to do and the brave thing to do is just cancel. And to me, that is not anything that we should be praising in America. I think the fact that the Pac-12 and the Big Ten are unable to play is an abject failure of Commissioner Kevin Warren of the Big Ten and Commissioner Larry Scott of the Pac-12 and of their university presidents who have made the decision, which doesn't make any logical sense to me at all, particularly in the Big Ten, to cancel. Let me explain what I mean by this. We have Big Ten schools that are opening up to have students present on their campus. We have Big Ten schools that are saying it's fine to have 20 hours of training continuing for fall athletes. And yet we have Big Ten presidents who are saying we can't play fall athletics. I don't understand the logic underlying those decisions. Let me walk through them simply for you again. Students can be on campus. Students can train for their sports for up to 20 hours a week, which is the same rule that exists when they are actually playing games. How then can you determine students cannot, however, compete in their sports? As Eddie said earlier on the show, anybody who has ever trained for a sport knows that for the most part, that's the part that sucks. Most people train in order to be able to actually compete. If all you did was train, very few people would sign up to play sports without the games themselves. But again, I want you to just follow me here on the logic. I'm focusing on the Big Ten in particular. If you are allowing students on campus, you are acknowledging that there may well be students who get sick because they're going to be living in dorms, eating in school cafeterias, going to in-person classrooms. By the way, I'm in favor of kids being back in school. I said earlier in the program, my kindergartner is having his first day at school this morning. So I am going to take my kindergartner to school, my youngest kid, and I believe that kids K all the way through grad school, kindergarten all the way through grad school, should be in school. That's what the data tells me. So I'm not begrudging the Big Ten decision to have students at school physically present, okay? But if you are making that decision to have kids on campus and you are also saying that you are going to allow kids to train for 20 hours a week for their sports throughout the fall semester, how then can you not allow them to also be competing? Does anybody see the failure in logic there? If it's too dangerous to play sports, how is it not too dangerous to have kids back on campus? This seems to me to be a complete failure of logic and reason for the Big Ten. Either it's not safe enough to be back on campus for anyone, and therefore college athletics and college students cannot go to classrooms. All of it has to be canceled, or all of it has to be permissible. The logic here doesn't follow for me of allowing students to be in dorms, which is the number one place. If you ever lived in a college dorm, it's the number one place for viruses to spread. If you're going to allow that and you're going to allow classroom instruction, how in the world can you cancel sports? Doesn't make sense to me. On top of that, I think these athletic departments are in for a major mess because in hour 2 we had Jeff Schwartz on, and I think the Big Ten Network and the Pac-12 Network are going to have to effectively refund every single person who is a subscriber to the Big Ten Network or the Pac-12 Network because they are canceling all of the programming that exists on their college sports network. The only reason anyone pays for the Big Ten Network or the Pac-12 Network is for the games that they air. Once there's no longer any games airing, that should be hundreds of millions of dollars in refunds that everybody is entitled to potentially for an entire year. So in addition to the fact that these athletic departments are in major budgetary Armageddon, they may well not even be entitled to any of the television money that the Big Ten Network and the Pac-12 Network are producing on a yearly basis, and certainly not on a semester basis for the fall of 2020. We just ran through with the guys, if you're just waking up with us, at the end of the last hour, I might be the only person on the show who actually pays for the Pac-12 Network and the Big Ten Network, but a lot of you do as well. Those are dollars that we all should be entitled to a refund for because the Pac-12 and the Big Ten are not fulfilling their contractual obligations. So that's a story that you're probably not going to hear anybody else talking about because that's me having to put my lawyer hat on to think about. On top of that, props to the ACC, to the SEC, and to the Big 12 for so far not deciding to cancel their season. Several different things that I want to get into here. First of all, this show is providing a substantial backbone of support. Maybe I should just say is providing a substantial level of support to the ACC, the SEC, and the Big 12 to allow college football to be played by getting governors on to endorse the fact that they expect and want sports to take place in their states, particularly college football. So if you're a regular listener to the program or you listen on the podcast, you know on Monday we had Florida Governor Ron DeSantis on this program, and he was the first governor in the country to come out publicly and say, I want my ACC schools, Miami and Florida State, and I want my SEC school, certainly Florida, I want them to play college football. It's important. Later today, I am talking with the governor of Texas. We are scheduled, he's got a busy schedule. We are scheduled to tape with him at 10 o'clock. I am expecting for him to come out in favor of college football being played in the Big 12 and in the SEC in his state this year. Baylor, Texas Tech, the University of Texas, and Texas A&M, all major college football programs in the state of Texas. I'm expecting for the governor there to come out with me. I'm just giving you a little bit of a tease because we'll put out an audio clip if he does it, even though it won't be live on the air, and then we'll play it for you tomorrow because I think time is of the essence here. I am expecting for the governor of Texas to come out in favor of college football being played in his state. I have talked to other governors in SEC and Big 12 states and their staffs, and I am seeing universal support for the idea of the ACC, of the SEC, and of the Big 12 being played in their states. So I think let's look at the Big 12, for instance. I expect Texas to be in favor. I expect Oklahoma to be in favor. I expect Kansas, Iowa, and West Virginia, the governors of all 5 of those states, to eventually come out and say, we want the Big 12 to be played in our states. We think it's important. I'm also expecting for the 11 state governors of the SEC to all be coming out and saying, we want college football, we want college basketball, this is a big part of our state economy and also of our state's culture and returning a sense of normalcy. Again, so far, Governor Ron DeSantis from Florida is the only one in the SEC who has come out in the ACC in favor of sports existing. But I think all of these governors now are going to be endorsing the idea of college football and fall sports taking place in general. I expect all of that is going to be happening. This is a significant backbone, a significant layer of support for the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12. And again, I think there are going to be a lot of governors coming out and making comments endorsing playing college football. And look, this makes sense because you're going to have high school football in all of these states. You're going to have the NFL in all of these states. It also doesn't make logical sense that if you can safely play safely play high school football and safely play the NFL, how in the world can you not safely play as well college football? Now, a bunch of people, and this is me putting my lawyer hat on again, a bunch of people out there are saying, well, what about liability concerns? This is not an intelligent perspective to be arguing. Let me explain why. Liability is going to exist for every college that brings students back to campus. So if you are concerned about liability for athletics, you should be far more concerned about liability for colleges being back on campus. But here is the larger issue. Many states are passing laws, and the federal government is also going to pass a law, I believe, which is going to keep people from suing over getting the virus. And I think that's the right precedent to set because we don't allow people to sue if they get the flu or a cold or pneumonia from somebody else. That's not the responsibility of an institution. If you go to a football game and you get the flu from somebody else there, that's not the fault of the stadium. That's not the fault of the team. That's not the fault of the school. You can't stop viruses from happening. If you go to Walmart and get sick while you're shopping there, that's not Walmart's fault. It shouldn't be their obligation. And I'm saying this as a lawyer who supports the right for people to sue for a variety of different reasons. That is a bad policy to put in place. Moreover, it also is incredibly difficult to prove causation. Because how do you 100% prove where you got infected? In other words, let's pretend you're a football player. If you get the coronavirus, how are you going to 100% prove it was because of football? All these college kids are going to be going to class. They're going to be going to restaurants. They're going to be living in dorms. They're going to be going to gas stations to fill up their cars. How do you prove where exactly you got a virus beyond a shadow of a doubt? It's nearly impossible because all of us in the course of our regular existence are exposing ourselves to viruses every day. That is a natural risk of life. Moreover, college kids are more in danger of death from the flu, and I've never seen any college kid sue because he or she got the flu at campus or got the flu, they think, from a locker room or a restaurant or a bar or a Walmart or any other place out there. It just doesn't make any logical sense. The liability argument that many people are spreading on social media, when you actually dive into the particulars of it, it is in no way a valid argument to examine at all. So there are a lot of moving parts right now in the battle over college football. Many people, this is not going to surprise you, on social media are not talking very intelligently about those battles. All right.